Well, Jessica, so wonderful to meet you via Zoom. Thank you for your time today. And I have to tell you, lots to talk about because first off, I absolutely love Summerland. I just was engaged from the first second I saw Penelope Wilton on that typewriter, and then I thought, oh, this is going to be great. And the story just took me. It was just beautiful. So congratulations on that.
So much. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And I want to ask you, first of all, what was the inspiration for you to write this story? It is, like I said, just so beautiful, and it just says so much.
Well, it was quite an unusual process for me because I often start with a premise very much set out, but this was a case of really thinking about asking myself the question of what I would want to see in the cinema and what cinema can do.
Yeah.
I felt very strongly that I didn't want to write something that was a sort of gritty, real story about our times. I think there's absolutely a market for that and a place for those stories about politics and reality and life in 2020, but that's just not my bag. I like to tell stories in order to look at themes that I think are absolutely resonant now, but by escaping to be somewhere else. And I enjoy being a writer because I like to sort of jump out of my own shoes and go and visit another place, another time, somebody else's experience, which led me to think about sort of visually what you can do on a screen. And I thought, well, what if there's more than this, our world? What would that look like? What about this kind of concept of heaven or something other?
Right.
And I was sort of intrigued by the notion of folklore, so I started looking at magic and mystery and the history of legends in the British Isles, and quite soon got really swept up in that and thought, oh, this is really kind of interesting and a bit sexy and cool, but also something from the past. And so it all sort of came together very gradually. And I always like writing about underdogs, and I like to try and write interesting roles for women, which aren't the sort of typical two-dimensional person. So
Yeah, and how crucial was your background, of course, in the theater? My goodness, you've done so much in the theater as a writer and a director. How did that help you become a feature film director and writer, screenplay writer?
Yeah, well, enormously, because I spent sort of 15 years telling stories in those different modes, and I was a director before I was a writer, so and I was a dancer before I was a director, so I started off thinking a lot about movement and sound and flow and music as well. And I think that often helped me as a director, and it's partly why I often directed comedies, because they are so much about rhythm and wit and that the fun. And all of those tools then, so I've sort of worked visually and worked on dialogue. And when I started writing for the screen, I suddenly felt like I'd found my happy place, because actually as a screenwriter, you're not only writing dialogue like you do in theatre, you're writing the picture as well.
Exactly.
And so actually one of the things that really helped, I think, was that over the course of the several years when I was developing Summerland, I was writing about 4 other screenplays at the same time.
Wow.
And it's just that they happened to have sort of fallen out in a different order. So it meant that whilst this was my first feature film as a director, by the time we got to shoot it, I'd already got 4 screenplays under my belt.
Amazing.
And that process of thinking about how you tell a story on film and working with other directors to get those other pieces right was really helpful.
Yeah, and of course, you're good friends with Gemma. You guys have done stuff together. I have to tell you, that leading lady parts. Oh my God, it is so funny and so good and so dead on. Wow. It's very impactful for a short. And boy, did you ever get a good little cast for that.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? We were really lucky. But, it's an issue that people feel really strongly about. And so all of those actors were queuing up to be part of, being on that message, really.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. Like I said, so Jenna, of course, is in that, and then you also go back with Gugu. Like it's all, girl power with this. I love it that the three of you are friends and that you were able to
Yeah,
do a film like this. But let's just talk about Gemma because, oh God, she is so good in this movie.
yeah.
First of all, let's just before I'm going to be a little petty here. Her clothing, like she
Yeah.
reminded me of somebody that Diane Keaton would have worn that stuff.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she wore it so well, and it suited the character so fantastically. So just visually, she was fabulous. But then she gets to really show some chops in this and how
yeah.
her character evolves. I mean, the two of you, how much collaboration, because you're friends, was there between the two of you on this character?
Well, I had already written the script when she read it for the first time, and it was sort of finished ostensibly. And I hadn't actually written it for someone her age. I'd written it for someone about 10 years older. And I didn't even know she had it. We were having dinner and she said, someone gave me your script. I love it. I want to do it. How can I be involved? How can I support you? Because I really want you to make this film because I found it really moving. Can I come on board as a producer? And I thought about it and I said, well, yeah, absolutely. But what if Alice was a younger woman? What if you played Alice?
Yeah.
Because I knew how completely flexible she was as an actor, and also felt that it was something I hadn't seen her do before. And
Yeah.
she, was completely taken aback that I thought that. And I was at the time too, because I thought, well, it's not what I imagined, but I think actually it's more interesting if
Yeah.
she is younger.
I
And then I
agree.
rewrote it accordingly. So, yeah.
Oh, it works so well. I mean, it's such a beautiful story. And of
Mm.
course, you could not do this movie without a strong leading man, I want to call him.
Yeah.
You're Lucas Bond, who I literally just spoke to about an hour ago. I was his first
Oh,
interview ever.
oh no
Yeah,
way!
yeah, I know. It was the first time he's ever done an interview. And it was very exciting. He's
Oh, what a
lovely.
lovely! I'm really glad it was with you because it's
Yeah,
lovely speaking to
he
you. So,
he is. I tell you, this kid had my heart from the first second we see him. But for you, obviously that's a really, really important part. You have to cast that person so well. How did you find him? What was it about Lucas that you thought he's going to make a great Frank?
well, it was really, really scary. I'll be honest, because I knew that the movie entirely would rest on his shoulders,
Yeah,
and that if we didn't find a kid who was good enough, then we couldn't make it. So even though everything was lining up, I was thinking, if we can't get the right child, we are genuinely not going to be able to do it. And I knew that also, trickily, he needed to be a person of color, but quite specifically so that people wouldn't put two and two together from the beginning.
yeah. Oh,
So
I
I wasn't
didn't.
only looking,
Yeah,
yeah, I wasn't only looking for a great kid, which is hard enough in the first place,
yeah.
but I was looking for very specifically for a kid with probably mixed heritage
Hmm.
parents from the right part of the world. I thought that was important, but also who looked enough like Gugu that it would make sense, but where it absolutely wouldn't give it away and people wouldn't guess. That was a really tall order.
I'm
And we
sure.
saw hundreds of kids, and I was so glad when we found him. From his first audition, he was one of my top favorites, but
Yeah.
we did, chemistry reads. We got him together with various different EDs, and we did all the process. But he was in my heart right from early days.
Yeah, he's lovely. He's just a lovely kid, and he was, like I say, my heart. And I was telling him, like, from the scene where, and I don't want to give away anything, but when they're in the kitchen together and they're having dinner, and he takes the record, and she yells at him, "Don't touch that." I
Yeah,
couldn't stop crying from then on. That's it.
right.
I was a lost cause. You had me
Yeah,
going. I had the box of Kleenex next to me for the whole rest of the film. And he just is so fantastic. And the two of them together, did they gel immediately as well? He,
yeah.
he and Gemma?
They really did, and rehearsals was very helpful for that because he'd never shot a movie before, and so I
Yeah,
wanted to make sure he was really comfortable, and that he knew Gemma, and that she could support him without it having to be her focus as well, because she's carrying the movie, so she can't be babysitting. But at the same time,
exactly.
it's really important that they got on, and they really did. I mean, I'm not responsible for that. They're both wonderful people, and I think they'll be friends for life.
Yeah, and then of course there's other children in the film, but you scored. You have Dixie in your film, who of course just came out with the Secret Garden, another
Yeah, of
fantastic
course.
little kid, and they
Yeah.
had a really fun, good chemistry together too.
Yeah, they really did. They really did. I mean, that was one of the joyous things about making this movie, was that it genuinely was a really supportive place to work, and great fun. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, just lovely people. I would always rather cast an actor who I think is a good person as well. And I know not all directors think like that, but I just
Yeah.
think the importance of having camaraderie and feeling supported and never feeling pushed out by
Hmm.
somebody, or that sort of superiority that you get with some people on set. I'm not interested in that.
Oh, I don't blame you. Who needs it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Another amazing character, that cottage. All I want to know is, when can I sign up to stay there for a few weeks?
Yeah. Well, you might not be able to stay, but you can certainly go and visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful location. How did you find that? Like, did you write that first and then find it, or you found it and then you wrote it? Like, it was
I
perfect.
wrote it, and then we as a team found it, and I
Oh,
will always be grateful. And when the location manager sent a video of that house to say, what do you think of this, I burst into tears, because I couldn't believe that there was a house that was so much like the house I'd written that
amazing.
really existed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, this movie just says so much, and it's about love. It's about, having faith in people, and relationships and stuff. And it just, it breaks my heart. The whole backstory with Gugu and Gemma's relationship, and it's just, it's beautiful. Like, what at the end of the day, when people watch this film, what would you like them to take from it? Because there are so many things going on in here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, many things. It's always really difficult when people say, what's Summerland about? Because I think, well, it's about triumph over adversity. It's about the importance of acceptance. Absolutely. It's about the importance of kindness and
Hmm.
being open-minded, whether that's about someone who arrives on your doorstep or who you choose to love. It's partly about not judging people. And I think one of the sort of the response to this has been overwhelming, and it's been so gratifying as well. But one of my favourite parts is hearing from older women in gay relationships, and men actually too,
Yeah.
saying it's unusual to show a gay relationship on screen which stands the test of time, because a lot of stories that have got an LGBTQ theme
Yeah.
don't have a happy ending,
True.
because the theme is sexuality and therefore often how difficult it is, whereas that's actually not a central tenet of this movie at all. And it was something that I didn't even know when I started writing. I didn't know that Alice was going to be gay. That happened later.
Yeah.
But getting feedback from people saying, I feel like I've seen myself on screen, thank you for
Wow.
representing me. I thought, well, that makes it all worthwhile.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, as you were saying, you have, like, 3,000 screenplays done, and and unfortunately, you can't really shoot anything at the moment, but hopefully
No.
soon. But what's next on your plate? Like, what are you going to start working on next?
Oh, those screenplays, three of them are all literally about to begin shooting as soon as they're allowed out the stable door. So that's
Good.
great. But I'm currently working on an adaptation of Swan Lake for Universal Pictures with
Wow.
Felicity Jones, who is another one of my leading lady partners.
Yes.
That's lovely for us to be working together again. And I'm writing a secret news story as well. But I'm
Oh,
keeping that
very.
under wraps.
Oh, no, no, that's okay. That's okay. Like, I can't wait to see what else you've got coming out, because, like I say, you're just your vision, and you're just such an amazing talent. And I can't say enough about Summerland. I just so loved it so, so much. So I just want to thank you so much for your time,
Really welcome.
and best of luck with everything. And oh my God, Swan Lake with Felicity. Wow, that's going to be
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, thank you. It's been really lovely to speak to you too.
You too, Jessica. Have a lovely, well, have a good evening. It's evening there,
Thank
so
you.
have a good evening, and hope
I'm
to
off
see you
to my
soon.
first live British Q&A on Zoom. So there you
Okay.
go. Yeah.
Best of luck. Take care.
Thank
Nice
you
to
very much.
meet you.
Take care. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Bye-bye.